Hello and welcome to today's lesson. In today's lesson, we'll be walking you through how to subtract like and unlike fractions. Let's get started. In our first example, we would like to subtract two like fractions. We want to subtract a like fraction from another like fraction. 5 over 7 minus 3 over 7. The first thing you want to do is to make sure that these two fractions are like fractions. So we'll look at their denominator, and in this case we see that they have the same denominator, so they are like fractions. So the next step is you want to write one of the denominators as your new denominator. So we're going to write 7 as our new denominator, and we're going to go ahead and subtract and write out the values that are in the numerator with the signs. So it's going to be 5 minus 3. So if we deduct 3 from 5, that leaves us with 2. So the final answer is going to be 2 over 7. Sometimes we have algebraic fractions. These are fractions that have one of the numbers represented by letters. Like in this example, we've been asked to subtract 1 over x minus 1 from 4 over x minus 1. Well, you don't really need to bother about what x is or not. All you need to do is, do they have the same denominator? Yes, they do. So this qualifies as a like fraction. So we want to go ahead and write one of the denominators as a new denominator. So x minus 1. Okay, and then we want to write the numerators as well as the signs. So it's going to be 4 minus 1. So if you deduct 1 from 4, that leaves you with 3. So the final answer is going to be 3 over x minus 1. However, in the unlike fractions, the mode of carrying out the subtraction is different. And just like we did during the addition of like and unlike fractions, there are two methods. There is the LCM method and there is the equivalent fraction method. First, let's begin with the LCM method. Now we have two fractions. One is 4 over 5, the other is 5 over 9. And they have different denominators. In the first number, we have 5 as the denominator. In the second fraction, we have 9 as the denominator. So obviously, these two fractions are not like fractions. So we want to go the LCM method. So we want to find the LCM. So the way to find LCM, just like we said last time, was to use the principle of... So we're going to use a different method to find the LCM. You can go ahead and use the same method that we mentioned during the lesson on addition of like and unlike fractions. That still works, but I'm just trying to teach us different methods of finding the LCM. Okay, one very straightforward method that many people use is just to multiply the two bottom numbers. 5 times 9, and that's 45. But that sometimes that may be wrong, because you may actually multiply the numbers and you find a smaller number in which both denominators can go, and then that creates a false value. So you want to be careful about that. Even though you might use a large number, at the end of the day, when you subtract, you'll be able to, when you have your value, you can still divide it down and still get a smaller value. But let's first use this new method. So what I want to do is to write out our denominators. There's 5 and there's 9. So these 5 and 9, we want to multiply them by, so you start multiplying each one by, you start from 1 and then you go up to 10 or sometimes 12. So 1 times 5, 1 times 9, and then you write all the values down. But for the constraint of time, I won't go through all that, so I'll just choose some numbers. So if we multiply by 2, this is going to be 10, and that's going to be 18. So if we multiply by 5, this is going to be 25, and that's going to be 45. If you multiply by 7, that's going to be 35, and this is going to be 63. If you multiply by 9, that's going to be 45, and this is going to be 81. So now we can stop. You stop when you find in the two rows, in the two columns. If you look at the two columns, when you find the same number occurring the first time the same number occurs. For example, this is 45 and this is 45. That's the earliest numbers that are the same in both columns. So this constitutes the lowest common multiple. If you keep multiplying by different numbers, eventually you get more numbers in which they have, for example, you get to 90. 5 will go in 90, maybe 16 or so times, 18 times. So if by the time you multiply 5 by 18, you're going to get 90. Multiply 9 by 10, you're going to get 90. But 90 is not the least common multiple that way. So that's why you use this method. So the first time you find numbers in the two rows that are the same and they kind of coincide, not necessarily in the same level, but different levels, but it's the same number, then you stop it. So that's going to be our new denominator. So we're going to write the new denominator, 45. Somebody said, why don't you just multiply 5 times 9 straight away? Yes, that works sometimes, but sometimes too it doesn't. So please note that. So the next thing you want to do once you have written your new denominator is you want to divide the new denominator by the denominator of each respective fraction. So you say 45 divided by so I'm going to represent the 5. That's the denominator of the first fraction. So 5 goes in 49 9 times. So you now multiply that value with the numerator. So 9 times 4 is going to give us 36. Okay, so the next one is 9. So 9 goes in 45 5 times. So you want to multiply the numerator of the second fraction by 5. So that's going to be 5 times 5. That's going to be 25. So if we deduct 25 from 36, that's going to give us 11. So 11 over 45. So that's our answer. What about the equivalent fraction method? Well, the equivalent fraction method, the aim is to make the fractions to have the same denominator. In this case, 5 doesn't go through in 9, so we can't multiply anything with 5 that will give us 9. So rather than go through the stress of finding what we can multiply together to give us 9, we will just multiply the two denominators. That's going to be 5 times 9. That's going to give us 45. Okay, so our new denominator is going to be what? 45. So what are we going to multiply 5 with that will give us 45? That's 9. What are we going to multiply 9 with that will give us 45? That's 5. So that's technically you're multiplying each fraction by the opposite denominator. So you multiply each fraction by the opposite denominator. So in case of 4 over 5, which is the first fraction, you multiply by the denominator, the opposite denominator, which is 9. So that's 4 over 5 multiplied by 9 over 9. Put that in a bracket, minus, then 5 over 9. Remember, you want to multiply with the opposite denominator. That's 5 over 9 multiplied by 5 over 5. Okay, so 4 times 9 is 36. 5 times 9 is 45. So we have 36 over 45 minus 25 over 45. Now we have like fractions, so we can go ahead and subtract them just like fractions. So we have one denominator, which is 45, and then 36 minus 25, which we can go ahead to say it's going to be 11 over 45. So take note, when you are subtracting unlike fractions, you can use the equivalent fraction method. It works very well, or the LCM method. for unlike fractions. Do not use equivalent fraction method or SCM method for like fractions because they already have the same denominator. You just go ahead and subtract the numerators and choose one of the denominators, and then you have your answer. That's it on subtraction of like and unlike fractions. Thank you for watching.